Chester, one of the world's great thinkers in the area of leadership, culture, recognized by global gurus as one of the top in the world. Also, 1.5 million books sold, 5 New York Times bestsellers.
If you want to attract top talent, and you want to retain that top talent, you have to have a ratio that's positive. And there is random acts of kindness. So anyway, I'm excited. I love to teach. I love to share with people how you can create those cultures where people believe what they do matters, they make a difference. Everybody wants to be happy. Everyone wants to have a great job. Everyone wants to go home and share all that wonderful goodness from work with their families. So whoever's sitting at this table, when those people come through, my job is to make sure they leave with more than they came in with, and that I've made a difference for them. Don't just say, hey, great job. I want you to go up to them and I want you to say, you know what? The frickin' dishwasher! Yo, that's right. Culture is everybody. It's that emotional engagement. Who's your dishwasher on your team? And do they get it? Sure. When culture goes all the way to the dishwasher, you've got a great culture. Look at give me a little hallelujah. We all want great teams. They're more innovative and productive, more responsive to customers. Audiences to creating healthy debate and what we call the radical effect, the remarkable payoff of a regular... Doesn't mean anything.
Workplace expert Chester Elton is the author of 6 New York Times best-selling books that have been translated into 30 languages and have sold more than 1.5 million copies worldwide. He appears frequently on NBC's Today Show, 60 Minutes, and CNN.
When you create what we call a carrot culture, it accelerates your business results. So why wouldn't you do it? And we teach managers the little things they can do every day. I say we are, you say all in, we are. My time is up, you guys are great. Cheers.
So hello viewers, today I am in conversation with Mr. Chester sir. He is a phenomenal keynote speaker, best-selling author, and an amazing leadership and marketing coach. So welcome Chester sir to be the podcast, first of all.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
And actually sir, I have seen your videos on Instagram and especially on YouTube. The way you speak is actually very incredible. I mean, I have seen many leaders, but the kind of tone you use, I mean, tell me something about your voice. I mean, how to work upon voice and actually how important voice is for a speaker, that voice modulation, or what are your insights upon this, that how voice plays a massive role in delivering a speech or having a huge public speaking session, right?
You know, interesting question. I grew up in a very faith-based community, and my father was a great storyteller.
Wow.
So he actually, I have 4 older brothers, and he would actually coach us as to how to speak, you know, when you're giving a talk in church or you're making a presentation at school. And then I've always been fascinated by the Southern Baptist preachers. And you're maybe not familiar with it, but maybe you've seen them in the movies where they really use their voices to great effect, you know, where they get really loud sometimes and then they get really quiet and people lean in. The callback and the cadence and the repetition. And so it's been really fun for me to try to replicate that in the work that we do when we speak in public or we coach. And so you're right. I think voice is important, and it's important as well to be understood, you know, to make sure that you don't talk too fast, right? That people understand what you're saying. So interesting question to start the interview. Yes, voice is important. Cadence is important.
Right.
Modulation. Loud, soft, it all makes a difference.
And sir, when I was watching your video, I noticed that you have an unusual communication skill. So what are your advices for aspiring leaders, that what are your top 5 advices to work upon incredible communication, right?
Well, I'm interested. What do you mean by unusual communication skill? What do you find unusual about the way I speak?
Right. So I mean to say, in public speaking, that how to be a professional communicator.
Yeah, no, I get that, but you said I have an unusual way of speaking. What do you find unusual?
I find that, I mean, the way you speak is you speak only practical things in the seminar, not just theoretical. That's something which is written in the book, right? And your voice also plays a very interesting role, because whenever you say something motivational line, then your voice goes up, and when you say something important, then you slowly convey that message with with making eye contact with the person. So I mean, such kind of things, such kind of skills, I want to discuss with you. That what are
Sure.
these, and how to incorporate all these skills, right? That eye contact, body language, and what are the importance of these?
Yes. Okay. Great question. I think, if you want to be a good public speaker,
Mm,
first and foremost, preparation and rehearsal is key. You
mm,
can't over prepare.
mm,
And you should rehearse often. If you've got a presentation, and I'll tell you what's really interesting is the shorter presentations are the hardest, right?
right.
Because you've got limited time, so you've got to be really concise. That's where preparation and rehearsal, you say it over and over on a walk, you say it
Mm,
to the mirror, you practice it with your spouse or your family.
mm,
And then to me, it's really important. There are kind of three things that I think are key. One is that you have good data, that you've done your research, because that gives you credibility. In the work we do in leadership and in culture, we have a database of over 1 million engagement surveys.
mm,
So that gives us credibility and it gives us resources, right? The thing is while numbers are important and you have credibility, people don't remember numbers. They
mm.
remember stories.
Stories.
So if you can build a story around those numbers, then people will remember it, right? And then thirdly is data is great, stories are wonderful. You need to
Mm,
connect the dots between what does that mean to me, right? So in other words, I get the data, I get the case studies. How do I do that? And so those practical takeaways,
mm,
the chance to say, hey, these are the trends, right? Here are people that have done it and have been successful. And then here's how you can do it. One or two key takeaways that people can use right now. And if you can do those three things, you're going to be a great communicator and people will want to listen to you because it benefits them, right?
So, sir, you have shared very practical thing about communication, and also I'd like to know one more thing about your color of dressing sense. I mean, I have seen your pictures, your videos. The kind of color you use is orange tie, orange shirt. My question is why? I mean, why are you so? I mean, you know, actually connected with this color, and actually, what is going in your mind while wearing this? I mean, is this your lucky color, or I mean, what is the magic behind this?
Great question. I get that question a lot, as you might guess. So, over and above the fact that I think orange is a very happy color,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's a very distinctive color. You can
Exactly.
find orange in a crowd, right? When we're traveling, my family loves that I wear because they can always find me.
Mm,
No one gets lost.
right.
The reason I wear orange is my wonderful co-author, Adrian Gostick, who we've been writing partners now for well over 20 years. Our first work around leadership and culture had to do with recognition, and ongoing through the 15 books that we've written together.
Right.
The key element to every great culture, every great leader, every great team was this theme of gratitude.
Right.
And so the first 7 books that we wrote all had the word carrot
Mm,
in the title. Managing with Carrots, the 24 Carrot Manager, a carrot a day, the carrot principle, and on and on. And the reason for that is the old Aesop's fable that
mm,
says, you can get more by giving a carrot
mm,
than beating your horse with a stick.
right.
So carrots versus sticks. So we're a big fan of more gratitude, more recognition, less punishment. So the carrot is our mascot. So
Mm,
this is our mascot, Garrett the carrot.
right.
Most carrots are orange, right? And
Mm,
so my personal brand has
mm,
always been the color orange. And I'll tell you, it's fun because people send me orange stuff all the time. They send me orange glasses, orange socks, orange
right.
t-shirts. It's really quite wonderful. So orange, it's the color of positivity.
Mm,
It's the color of safety. I think it's a joyful color and it ties into more
right.
gratitude, less punishment. Is that helpful?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it actually makes sense. So I will buy a orange tie for sure after this
Good
session,
for you.
right?
And it will make you happy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It will make up because it gives a positive vibe right around us.
It really does.
That's all. And Chester sir, you have written 10, 12 books upon anxiety, organizational structure, leadership. So I want to know what are your insights upon leadership for aspiring leaders from 0 to 1. I mean, how to be an incredible leader, right?
Well, it's an interesting question because, when most people think of a leader, they think of a motivator, a great communicator, demanding, pushing, and so on. And I think all those attributes are good. The evolution of leadership, though, has become very interesting to me. Old school is command and control. I say you do. Then there was a little more collaboration, more teamwork kind of thing, right? And then diversity, make sure you've got a lot of different thinking around the issue.
Right.
It's interesting to me now, though, that there are two attributes that I think are really key to great leaders. One is that they empathize. Empathy has to be very high. When I first started working, the hours were 9 to 5. You showed up at work at 8:30, you left at 5:36, and no one could get a hold of you. They couldn't track you down. You were gone, right?
Right.
Now, of course, we all carry supercomputers in our pocket and we're available 24/7.
Right.
And so there is no really good separation between your personal life and work, right? You're on 24/7. So you need leaders that are very empathetic, that bring the whole person to work. It's not just this is your work life, this is your personal life, this is your life. And the leaders that succeed the most are the ones that don't just make people better workers, they make them better people. So that's the first thing. And your empathy, your EQ, whatever you want to call it, has to be very high. Secondly, and this is really interesting to me, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about this lately. When you think about the people that had the biggest impact in your life, over and above your family, hopefully your mom and dad were good to you and kind to you. You had good brothers and sisters, whatever. Over and above family, the people that had the biggest impact on you are probably teachers, right? Mentors, and coaches, if you've had any kind of athletics. So a teacher, a mentor, a coach. And that's what people are looking for in a leader right now. Someone that can teach me something, help me grow, mentor me along the way, and coach me up. And if you can have leaders with high empathy that are good teachers, mentors, and coaches, those are the leaders people want to work for. Those are the people that I will never let them down, right? I'll always give my best effort. Because they've invested in me, how can I possibly not return that investment? Now, I want to ask you, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, let me ask you this. Why? Why does that make sense to you?
Because, sir, because teaching, coaching, and mentoring, these are something which help us to expand our own knowledge. Because if we don't know something, the easiest way to know something is to teach. Because whenever I will start teaching something which I don't know, I mean, I know, but not too big, I mean, I know a particular topic to some extent, not, I mean, I have a vast knowledge of it. So the moment I will start teaching it, I will start repeating it. And the more I will repeat, the more that particular information will sustain in my brain for too long time.
Yeah. See, here's another reason it's so important is the number one reason that a lot of millennials and Gen Z or Gen Z are leaving the workplace. It's not just money anymore. It's I have nowhere to grow.
Right.
How am I growing? And see, a teacher, a mentor, a coach helps you grow. And if I'm in a culture where I feel I'm growing and developing, I will stay. I won't leave for a 5% raise or a 3% raise.
Right.
So in other words, it's not only good leadership, it's really good business if you want to attract the best people and keep the best people. Those are the attributes.
Insightful thing it is. And actually, Chester, sir, I was reading about you on the websites and Google and actually LinkedIn. I went through your post. So you have mentored thousands of companies, startups, sales trainer, actually. So what are your advices for a company which has to manage a lot of departments like marketing, manufacturing, and actual product, a lot of things, price, place, promotion, So what are your advice for emerging entrepreneurs, that the people who are so young, like 19 years, 20 years? So does that make sense that they should start their own startup, or they should learn, or first they should do jobs in actually MNCs companies, then and then afterwards they should go for starting their own firm or kind of companies? What are your insights?
Well, that's a very personal decision. There's no substitute for experience. And there's nothing wrong with starting up your company when you're 19 years old if you have a really good idea and you have a lot of belief that that idea can work. So it really depends on who you are and where you are in life. I will say to entrepreneurs or even big companies,
Mm,
make sure your values are right. Make sure you're doing what you're doing for the right reasons. If you've got your vision and values right and you stick to it,
mm,
your odds of success go up. A wonderful professor at the Harvard School of Business who's since passed away,
mm,
um, Clayton Christensen, said, "Look, make sure you live a life of integrity.
right.
You know, and be very aware when someone asks you to do something just this once. You
Mm,
know, that's the slippery slope, right? For example, if you say, "Look, we never pay bribes,
mm,
right? We don't do that."
mm,
And then someone comes and says, "Yes, but in this market, everybody pays bribes.
right.
So just do it this once and see how it happens." Well, as soon as you pay the first bribe, you're done, right? Because people know you will do it again. So whatever stage you're in, starting your own
Mm,
company or working for a big company, make sure that your personal values and and
mm,
and your mission is very clear, and that you stick to it. And then I think your odds go up. So whether you're want to jump right in and form your own company, or you want to get some experience before you do that,
mm.
all that aside, make sure you know who you are, what your values are, what your vision is, and make sure you don't compromise on that.
And Chester, sir, you are an incredible, leadership coach. I'd like to ask you that is vulnerability important and actually plays a huge role for a leader, or vulnerability is something which does not. I mean, it is not that significant for a leader to lead their company or their team. So what do you think?
Say that again. Accountability, did you say?
Vulnerability is
Oh,
important.
vulnerability. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Um, that's always a tricky question, right? Because you don't want to be so vulnerable that it
Mm,
creates drama. You do want to be vulnerable in certain ways. In
mm,
other words, if you make a mistake, be vulnerable enough to say, "I made a mistake,"
mm,
right? If you're wrong on something, be vulnerable enough to say, "I'm wrong." In our book, Anxiety at Work, which deals with how do you deal with mental health in the workplace, um, be vulnerable enough to share your own story. When you were overwhelmed or you were anxious or whatever, right?
mm.
That kind of vulnerability, I think, is very valuable. I think
Right,
some leaders take it too far and they share everything. I don't need to know everything, right?
right,
I just need to know the areas that are important to the team, to the business, to our relationship. So being vulnerable doesn't mean oversharing. Being vulnerable means when it comes to certain areas, mental health, project management, leading the team, admitting your mistakes. Yeah, then I think it's really important, because leaders that can't admit they're wrong,
mm,
that have to be right all the time, create
right.
a very toxic culture.
That's a kind of very, I mean, practical suggestion you have said. And Chester, sir, I'd like to know your journey as a keynote speaker. I mean, you are an incredible speaker, international author. You have written 10 to 12 books. So how do you, I mean, how did this idea cross your mind to coach companies, big companies, and train employees, train people, help others to grow, or kind of uplift them? So tell me your journey from then to now, friend.
Yeah. It's thank you for asking that question. I grew up in sales, and so
Mm,
I was always looking for an advantage. So the products we were selling had to do with employee recognition and employee engagement. And
mhm,
so I had a project where we had a partner that was a consulting firm, and I wanted to learn more about their firm. And so they sent
mm,
me a book, and it was written by one of their senior executives around, the employee journey, employee
right.
engagement.
Mm,
And I thought it was brilliant. So I called our CEO at the time and I said, if we were the thought leaders in our industry, it would be
mm,
so much easier for us, right? And so thought leaders publish. And I said, no one has written the definitive book on employee recognition.
mm,
It's not. If we wrote that book, it would set us apart. And he goes, oh, that's a great idea. Write the book.
mm.
And it was really interesting. I said, that's not what I said. I said, we should write the book, as in
Right.
we as a company. And then he said something that changed everything. He said, well, you're a smart guy, figure it out. And so we played with ideas. And then the supportive leader hired a writer. And he called me back and he said, look, you've got a lot of good ideas. I've hired a writer. His name is Adrian Gostick. Introduce yourself and write the book.
Right.
So it was an idea with opportunity supported by a great leader. And Adrian and I really hit it off. We've been dear friends now for almost 25 years. And we wrote our first book, Managing with Carrots.
Right.
And it did well. And so we wrote another one and another one. And as people bought our books, they would say, we like the book. Of course, you speak on the book.
Right.
And we thought, sure, we could do that. So we started to speak, and then there was training, and then there was coaching. And so it was very much an evolution. But it all started with the support of a great leader who saw something in us that could really be great.
Right.
And the rest is history. We've been doing it for 25 years now.
It's been 25 years of your this keynote speaking journey and author journey, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been great fun. You know, we've presented in over 45 countries around the world.
Wow.
So it's really been a great journey.
And sir, I want to ask you that, are you writing something new book, a kind of new thing you are doing right now in your life, right?
Yeah, we are often. We have some ideas. We haven't really landed on anything specific yet. Our last book, The Gratitude Habit, which is my favorite. It's a journal.
Journal.
You know, a fill in the blank journal. And I love it. It's a daily dose of gratitude and recognition. So we've got a few ideas, nothing we're talking about publicly, but something that might happen in the next year or so.
And sir, I'd love to ask you about anxiety, because a lot of people are going through an anxiety, so stress management, because of these kind of digital issues, digitalization has came across the world, social media. So what are your tips to handle or confront stress in practical ways?
Yeah, great question. Our book, Anxiety at Work, has done very, very well. And the reason for that, I think, is because it is such a big issue in the workplace, particularly with millennials and Gen Z, right? The point is what we wanted to identify is what were the major causes of anxiety in the workplace. And number one was uncertainty. So, you know, if you want to tamp down the anxiety in the workplace, make sure that your people know the answer to a few simple questions. One is, how is the company doing and where is the company going, right? Two really important questions. Is my paycheck going to clear? You know, are we growing? Are we in good shape? Secondly, how am I doing and what's my future here?
Right.
So if you can tamp down uncertainty, those are four really good questions to have answered on a regular basis. Company's doing great. We're expanding into Asia, right? You're doing really well. In fact, we have you on fast track to be a manager in the next year or so, or a leader in the organization. That really calms me down and allows me to move forward with confidence. Right? So, I mean, we've got 8 strategies on how to do that. We don't have time to do all 8, but the number one cause of anxiety is this uncertainty, which comes back to your first questions about being a good communicator.
Right.
Making sure people know what's going on and that they have some ownership on that. So, you know, if you don't think people are anxious at work, you're wrong. Everybody's worried. There are so many things going on in the world and in business, and we are bombarded with it every day through our phones.
Right.
We are creating the most anxious generation ever in the workplace. So good communication, calm things down, let everybody know what's going on. And then there are 7 other steps, but you know what? You can buy the book and you'll get the rest.
So
by the way, we also have a great podcast called Anxiety at Work, where we interview
right. I saw that.
Yeah, thought leaders. Yeah, and people in the mental health area. It's a wonderful listen. I highly recommend it.
So the viewers who are watching us, the aspiring leaders, students, I'd like to request all of you that visit channel of Mr. Chester Elton, sir, and watch the series. There are 20-30 episodes, which is audio episode, right? So you will gain something very interesting and very practical insights in regard of anxiety, right? So Chester, sir, moving towards our next question, that what are your advices in regard of happiness? Because it is a very, I mean, digitalization as we discussed about anxiety, stress management. So happiness is faded away from humans' life. So how to be happy and And actually, what are your practical insights upon this? That do we have to find happiness in our work which we are doing, or we will get happiness automatically?
Such an interesting question. I'm a big believer that most of us suffer from the
Mm,
great Western disease, which is I'll be happy when.
mm,
I'll be happy when I make a little more money. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I have a nicer car or a bigger house, or when the kids are born, or when the kids are out of the house. I'll be happy when.
mm,
Um, my dear friend Marshall Goldsmith gave me some great advice, and I wrote it down, and I could swear I just had it right here, but it was here it is. It's pinned on my bulletin board, and I look at this every day. It's be happy now. Just
mm,
be happy now. Now I don't want to discount the fact that there are people that have
mm,
depression and anxiety and need to seek professional help. No question you should. For a lot of people, though, it's be happy in the moment. Just decide that, look, today's a good day. It's why I love our gratitude journal. You
right.
start the day with three things you're grateful for. You
Mm,
end the day with three things you're grateful for. Live in the now. And then his
mm,
other advice around happiness is,
mm,
I love this. Did I help someone else have a little better day today? Did I
right.
help somebody else have a little? He and I talk
Beautiful.
about giving people a good minute, just a random act of kindness. I read a wonderful book called Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, he was a monk, a failed monk actually, but a wonderful life coach. And he said, "What is your mantra in the morning?" And
Mm,
my mantra is, be kind, be grateful, and be of service. And I think if you decide you're going to be happy now, that
right.
you're in service to other people, that it makes somebody else's day a little better, and be grateful for the wonderful people that are around you. I
Mm,
think that's a pretty good formula. It's a pretty good track for happiness. And lastly, we just came back from this trip in France,
mm,
and it's a bike and barge trip. It was 10 couples.
right.
Some people we'd known for years, some people we had just met.
Mm,
And you ride your bike through Provence in France, and it's beautiful. And there's castles and vineyards and markets, and it's lovely. Over and above all that, it was time to just talk and get to know people and eat together.
right.
Never underestimate that a long, happy, and healthy life, its
Mm,
foundation is on deep and meaningful relationships. Surround yourself with good people, that cheer for you,
mm,
that care about you, that love you, and never take them for granted. If you've got good people around you, when times are
mm,
hard, they will rally,
right.
and when they're having a hard time, you rally to them. Whether it's in your family, your faith, your company, where you volunteer, make sure you develop really good relationships. And how you do that is you're kind, you're grateful, and you're of service.
Right.
So make sure you're constantly expanding that network of good people. To me, that's the roadmap for happiness.
That's really incredible way of your answering this question, because you have shared the two answers, that how to make relationship with others, and how to find happiness. So it is very practical stuff you have shared from your 25 years of experience as a speaker, coach, mentor, and Chester sir, it was a pleasure hosting you here, and actually I learned 4 or 5 very incredible things from you. So thank you so much for taking out your precious time, 30 minutes, to be on the podcast. So, and it will be very helpful for all the viewers who are watching us first time. I guess you don't do video, podcast, right?
We do not. Our podcast is only audio. We do a
Audio.
lot on Instagram, as you
Yeah,
know,
Instagram
and,
video.
and we do a lot on LinkedIn. We have a wonderful
Mm,
newsletter that goes out twice a month called the Gratitude Journal.
mm,
We have over 300,000 people have subscribed to that, and so I would encourage you to
mm.
look at our work on LinkedIn, our website, thecultureworks.com, and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and all those wonderful places. But it's been a delight to talk to you. Thank you for the information.
Yeah, and viewers, I
Um,
will add all those links in the description so that you guys can reach out with Chester. So thank you so much, sir, for being on the show. Thank you.
you bet. Take care, my friend. Bye bye.
Bye bye.